How do you build a community that actually moves people? Today we have a very exciting guest with us, Perry, who's going to talk to us how he built a community with 9,000 members, and the community is as tight as ever. So, welcome to the Be the CEO of Your Life live show. I'm Yvonne Dam, and in this show, I share with you inspiring insights that I receive through my coaching, and I bring amazing guests that show you how you can build, grow, and scale your business. And today we're going to talk about a very exciting aspect, which is community building. Perry, welcome.
Hi, Yvonne. Is it working on Instagram?
It is. I'm so excited. I see myself. I almost forgot to push the button, but yes, today we're
Yay, we're live on Instagram for the first time. Well done, Yvonne.
starting. Thanks. So, Perry, for those who are watching and don't know you, can you please introduce yourself?
Oh, shit. Yes, sorry. My name is Perry Knoppert. I'm the founder of the Octopus Movement. It's a global movement of nonlinear thinkers solving the unsolvable in the world. Nonlinear thinking is not the opposite of linear thinking. Nonlinear thinking is not Edward de Bono with the different thinking hats, what I find still very linear. Nonlinear thinking is not thinking. Nonlinear thinking is the creativity that doesn't fit in the box. Nonlinear thinking is the weirdo that we all know. And I think my initial thought was if I bring all these very special, amazing people together, what would happen? And that's the Octopus Movement, Yvonne. And that's me. I'm almost 50. I have 3 kids. I live in the Netherlands. Um, I love art. I love human beings. I love thinking differently. We've created Tell Tom, an app about frustrations in the world. We've built a human score. This is a monitor. How do you say that? A cockpit for organizations to see their human centricity. So many things. So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. And today we're going to talk about something that you are great at, right? Building a community. And it comes up more often than not because you've built a community from scratch. Right now, the Octopus Movement has 9,000 members, and it's actually been valuated, like money wise, right? What's the exact value that has been given to the Octopus Movement? Just
Yeah,
to give people an idea.
that's not fair you're asking me because you know how I think about this, that I always find it a bit embarrassing to talk about this. But okay, there was this very interesting linear conversation that I had with someone who is very good in evaluating companies. And I was just curious and I said, oh, I have a nonprofit. How do you evaluate a nonprofit? And it's more like a global movement. To make a long story short, it got evaluated at $1.2 billion. That made me blush, that made me think, that made me very proud, and that also made me think immediately this is bullshit. But it does from a linear perspective say something which is very interesting, and of course, and then I'm happy to talk about that.
All right. And I'm writing it down so that we can put it in. Sorry, I just love it. So it's right there in the center. The reason why I name it is because I think for many, this is kind of an indication of what is truly happening. You and I know that what is truly happening is really inside the movement, and people need to experience that. And if you haven't experienced yet, I really invite you to come and take a look at the Octopus Movement, come to join the Facebook group here on LinkedIn, join some of the conversations to really understand and feel what it is. But you started on your own, right? When you started, Perry, there were no members. So talk to us, what does it take to go from zero to 9,000 people and counting?
Yeah, and I'm also aware of that 9,000 is nothing. What is a group of 9,000 people? But on the other hand, these are 9,000, almost 10,000 very remarkable nonlinear minds. These are very interesting, very intelligent, remarkable people. And Change the numbers while we're talking, Yvonne. Um, so I'm aware that maybe you're listening and thinking, well, 10,000 is not that much, Barry. And I'm aware of that. But looking at the crowd, the, the people that are involved are the ones that are very special. And it's not just, a group of people that all like to drink Coca-Cola every day, whatever example you can imagine. But these are nonlinear minds, people that don't fit in the box, that are slightly different, yet very interesting, very much connected. And the question was, how did I start this, right? How did I start creating a community? It started with absolutely nothing. I decided to create a global nonprofit, and I wanted to bring people together. The thing is, I didn't have a plan, Yvonne. I remember so well that people were saying to me in the beginning, Perry, what's the purpose? What's your why? Yeah. And it's like, I don't have a why. I don't have a purpose. And that's really, not very trendy to say that, but I was just curious. I was thinking, what happens if you bring these brilliant minds together? That was my idea. And that's how it all started. And seriously, it started with 50 people. I interviewed around 120 people based on their LinkedIn profile, that I thought that they were a bit nonlinear because their profile was different. And that's how it started. And by connecting it to the octopus, the movement started. But I've never had the idea and sit down and create the blueprint or the business plan. Like, this is what I want to do. I have these key performance indicators, not like next year I want to have 3,000 members, or I just started. And I think that's also what really happened. And this is how I see what's happening in the world today, and also linked to linear, nonlinear thinking, that if you want to build your community, that the first step is to really think about, maybe you shouldn't be building a community. I think as soon as it's when you start to build your community, it's already not a community anymore. Um, but I will explain that later on. But I think that organic space that I created to bring everything together and then create space to see how it would respond really created a movement, and therefore the perfect community. And I never use the word community because I don't like the word. I need to explain that. I remember in the beginning, people were saying, "Oh, you're building such a beautiful community, Perry." I was like, "Ugh, I no, don't use that word." And I was thinking, but why? Why do I have difficulty with the word community? And I really started to think about that. And I think it was too much linear for me. And you have to understand that it's not about not wanting to be linear and being nonlinear. It's not about that. It for me, it's just language to indicate that something is too system relevant. And when I hear the word community, it triggers some system relevance with me. Thinking about a community is something which you go into with a badge, and where you can step out to, or you're being kicked out if you're not paying, or these kind of things. So it was a kind of limiting belief for me personally, to connect that to the word community. And I was watching this documentary of Paul Stamets about mushrooms and the mycelium. Yeah, I went nuts. I saw that. I was like, this is what it is. So the mycelium is the network in the ground where all the trees and plants are connected, and they're helping and talking with each other, sharing nutrients. Thought this is also what we have as humans, where we're all connected. We're connected right now. If you're listening to this, we're connected right now. And that connection is key for me. And it goes much further than rules and regulations to create a community. We don't have any rules in the Octopus Movement, and I'm very proud of it. And I had so many people saying to me in the beginning, Perry, it doesn't work that way. You shouldn't be doing that. So that brings me to my final thing that I want to say about building communities in that perspective. Don't listen to advice. Never. My advice is, don't listen to advice, because if I would have listened to advice, I would have never, ever been able to create this. People were saying to me immediately, you have to organize this. You have to create rules. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. It's never going to work. It's not going to be interesting. La 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 la.
But I mean, don't listen to advice. Isn't it the typical advice that you?
Don't listen to advice. No, go into. Okay, I'm a sucker for nonlinear thinking. So for me, there's a space between thoughts. It means a black hole in your mind where new stars are being created. It's when you don't think, you actually think creatively. So when you go and listen to advice, the advice is always in line with the one who's giving you the advice. I can give advice about creating communities, but it's my own discovery in how I created the community, and it needs to fit with you like it perfectly fitted with me. So don't listen to advice. I can give inspirational talk. I can trigger specific thoughts or creativity or guide you towards a different angle to create the perfect community. But there is no blueprint for you specifically. And these are the 10 steps. If you do these, and you see that on social media, register here, pay me this amount of money per month, then you get the 10 steps, and within 6 months, you will be a millionaire. Everybody knows it's bullshit, but yet still people are going for it, because we want to be a millionaire. We want to be independent and have a lot of money. And if we just follow these steps, and this guy or a woman who's selling this already proved that she is now a millionaire, so she's probably right. And then guess what? If you're following these 10 steps, it's not working with you. Of course not. So that's in line with don't listen to advice. And of course, you listen to advice, you hear everything. And if people give me advice, it triggers something else with me, sometimes the opposite. But when they were saying, you have to create rules, maybe there was a trigger for me not to do that, to think, but if everybody is creating rules for communities, maybe the perfect community is not having any rules. And that's what I mean with don't listen to advice.
Okay, I hear you, but aren't you advising people about community building now?
Yes, but I'm not advising as in these are the 10 steps to follow.
Yeah, but
What, yeah,
I hear you, but in my view, you're still advising.
no. What I'm doing is, and what I love to do with this is to solve a puzzle. So
Mm.
there is, I'm working with someone right now, and he already has a kind of a community, and he's almost spot on what's happening, but there's something missing. So I'm not advising what he needs to do. I'm exploring together with him where he uses my nonlinear brain and where we discover together what are we missing. There is an angle that we're not seeing, and we need to find that, because if we use that, that will create more traction in where you want to go. And I strongly believe that if the pure focus is really we need to create a community, then the first question, and that is advice, but the first question is maybe it's not about creating a community, maybe it's creating a movement of thought where you allow people to create something together that turns out to be the community that is much stronger, because that's why we're creating communities, right? Because we're aware of the fact that how powerful it can be, but how powerful can something be is if it's really constrained and limited, then it's not serving its purpose. Where we have seen movements in the world appearing out of nothing, it just happens. And of course it just happens because it's human centricity, where all the energy with all the humans combines creates something, and you can't control that. What you can control is to allow space to let this happen, because you want to create some form of movement linked to your organization, your company, your brand, or whatever. And that's the form of advice that I'm giving. And it's not 10 steps. If you do this, then your community will grow. It's more a non-linear journey where we find the perfect angle, more creativity, more meaning in how to explore to create something really cool.
Okay.
Does it make
So
sense?
it does make sense. And it, for me, and maybe I'm just being stubborn, but I mean, whether you call it a community or a movement of thought, for me, it's a community. But I hear what you say, because for you, community is very boxed. For me, a community is just like-minded people together. But
Yeah.
I understand what the reasoning behind. Okay, but I like it when we have a movement of thought, because that is less boxed in. It's more like I see something, or maybe it doesn't. And that's, I think, the Octopus Movement is a great example. You don't have to think the same. No, on the opposite, you can have total, different views, but you respect each other and you have the discussions with each other. That's actually around certain topics. Um,
Yes. And don't get me wrong, I'm not in the game of creating different language because it's so creative. You
mhm.
know, I know people that do that. You know, I want to be special, so everything has a different language, and in the end, you're thinking, "What the hell are they talking about?" I'm not following them anymore. That's not what it's about for me. But in my nonlinear life, I am present and conscious about the movement of thought. So we're so conditioned to think in a way that it is sometimes difficult to release that and observe from a little distance. And for me, that's how it works for me. By calling it the human mycelium rather than a community, helps me to disconnect from some beliefs that I have, or normal ways of thinking throughout my conditioning of being alive and being here in Europe, and being almost 50 and went to school and whatnot. You know, you have all these conditionings that are in place. And I like to disconnect from that from time to time and be aware of that. And for me personally, it helps to create some different language to be aware of that. And if someone wants to call the human mycelium in the octopus movement a community, I'm fine. You know, there's, again, there are no rules to say, but you're not allowed to call this community because it's a human mycelium. It's just what I do. It helps me.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So people that are tuning in, they are curious to see how you can start a movement of thought, right?
Hmm.
How can you start something like the Octopus Movement in their own specific way? Now, there's no 10 steps. Everybody needs to do it in their own way. But what are things that you picked up on, or things that stand out for you, or things that you would never have thought that apparently made this happen?
Well, there are a few things, of course. Everybody wants to belong to something.
Mhm.
And if that belonging to something is close to who you are, then that's interesting. But on the other hand, what is also interesting, what people find interesting, is different thinking, is to do something different. And there is a tension between that. So you want to belong to something, and you want to identify that as it is, and you want something different, you know. And we, in the arts world, we want to see new art. We want to see new ideas of presenting emotion and thoughts, and then new artists come into the art world and create the most beautiful things that triggers our beings. And it's different. We like things to be different and not the same. So you want to belong, and you want to have something different. And I think that's important, to create that kind of space where there is something new happening that excites people, and
Mhm.
also where it's very safe to be who you are, and to discover that something new that inspires you and gives you energy and inspiration. And I think that's an important starting point for communities.
I love that you allude on the safeness, because I think that is quite critical for many. And if I look at the Octopus Movement, I know that the way I feel it, and I've introduced quite a few people that feel the same way. It's truly a safe space.
Yeah.
It's truly a space where you can be, where you sometimes can vent, where you can ask for help, where you can offer help. Um,
Why
and
do
I,
you think that is, Yvonne? Why do you think the Octopus Movement is such a safe space for the people in it?
well, this is funny, but what I see is that it's really a place where people that are labeled by many as different
Hmm.
finally find um, another group of people that are gone through the same or have similar experiences or have noticed it from close by, and are finally seen for who they are, you
Yeah.
know and without labels or without and just the fact that you can truly be who you are. I think that's already so liberating in itself. And then if you it's almost like you have this. I immediately see this huge water pool in front of you, and you go like, oh, that looks really nice, but I'm going to dip in my toe because I don't know what it's really nice. And then you dip in your toe and you go, oh, this is actually really nice. So you take a few steps and you go like, oh, nobody labeled me, or nobody made a funny snarky remark, I'm still good. And then you go, okay, I'm just gonna. And some just come and they dive straight in, and others are more, okay, let me test the water a bit more. But ultimately there's a bath that people really enjoy, and sometimes they get a bit too much and then they get out, and they come back later. And for me it's really that a lot of people went through so much in regular society, whether you call it linear. I think for me it's just regular society, and they felt so long different. And then they find a place where there are more difference, even if they're difference. It's like, yeah, it's a.
I think, yeah, I agree with you, and I love listening to what you're describing because it makes me feel proud again. Like, yeah, that's what we want, and I think that's what you especially want when you have and when you create and when you are in a community. That's what you want to see and have, and I think expectations are very important. What are the expectations? I think it's important that nobody's trying to convince anyone.
Mm,
It also started already with not being convinced to come into the Octopus Movement. If it resonates with you, go for it. If it doesn't. So there's no list in the beginning, like you need to be like this and this and this, and then you can join us.
mm-hmm,
It's for everyone. And I think that created a safe space because it wasn't designed in the beginning. So if you design something, you have an idea, and most entrepreneurs understand this. I think everybody understands this. You have an idea. The first thing most people do, I think, can be wrong,
mm-hmm,
is okay, I'm going to do this and this and this, and then as a natural result, and we're conditioned that way,
mm-hmm,
you're creating a system to create that. It means you want to create a community. So you have this idea of creating a community of guys with beards. I don't know. And right. And what do you do is you start creating the system to bring that together.
mm-hmm,
So we need to make sure you put on your Zoom camera so we can see that you have a beard. Otherwise, we can't. So you start with systems immediately. Always. Most people do that.
yeah, like
And
tick the box kind of thing. Mm,
why do we need that? Because we need structure because we're very afraid of chaos. We don't want to create a community for guys with beards and all of a sudden 75% are women. Like that wasn't the intention, right? We cannot have chaos with that. So what do? We structure everything as much as possible. And Cole is talking about this as well. Just let go of the rules and see what unfolds. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Is don't create the system first. Let's talk about the people that you have in this community. So a few guys with beards, so you sit down together and you start talking, not about creating a community. You start talking about life, about everything that's happening. So you start with human centricity. That's how you call that. You take the human and you let that be the center of all creation instead of system relevance, where you start with, if we create this system, then we can go there. And that's very, very limited. And the result is, if you can imagine that when you're creating a group of beards and you have the system, you'd have to do a photo first, zoom, check how long is your beard, is it real, and there's these rules, there are these steps that are being made. Then someone comes in and just shaved off his beard, and he thought, flip it. I'm removing the thing, but I like the other guys with beards. And he comes into the Zoom room and everybody sees him without a beard. And then it's not a safe space anymore because everybody started with the confirmation. Do you have a beard? How does it look like? How does it work? You started with the system. So it's not safe because everybody's saying, what the hell are you doing here? How did you end up here? This is wrong because we had this whole checklist. You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you start with the human centricity first, then you can create a community for guys with beards where there are even no guys with beards. There are even women there and kids. And it's still a community for guys with beards. You see what I mean? That's the human centricity approach that makes this way more interesting. And there is way more movement and organic movement rather than this is how we do it. And then it doesn't work. And then it's also the power of the community is gone. Because if it's safe and everybody feels welcome and everybody feels safe and connecting, and he has a beard, he doesn't have a beard, and it all doesn't matter in the end, then the power of these people connected together is very strong. And that's what we want to achieve with the community. Why else would you create a community? You want to establish something, you want to create something, you want to get results, you want to stand up for a group of people, you want to make a difference, something.
But that's what you're saying. You're not starting with that. You're not
No,
starting with, I want to make a difference because I have a beard, right? To stick to the example.
no.
You're saying, no, I just start from the human centricity, how you say, right? I know some guys with beards. I love to bring them together. And then kind of the community builds. And then when it's building, then you decide, okay, this is what we stand for. Is
Exactly, because that's, with the Octopus Movement, yes, the first thing I did was creating a manifesto, because we need to have a little bit of what are we talking about. And the manifesto of the Octopus Movement was all about adaptability. If you look at things from a nonlinear perspective, then there is a tremendous amount of adaptability, and that's serving you as an individual and us as a community and us as a society very well. And I was thinking that there was not getting enough attention to the ones that are slightly different, that we're missing out on this opportunity, that they actually are the ones that are creating the things you want to create. So yes, I started with a manifesto, absolutely. So you can do that, but the whole idea of we are a global nonlinear human mycelium solving the unsolvable came 2 years later, because we had no idea what we were doing. So the guys with the beards are coming together, creating a beard community, and then find out, something, we all have this in common. We didn't know that. That's cool. And we're going for that. And then you decide that this is the angle. And then you discover that guys without beards have the same angle, the same purpose, the same drive, and women have that, and kids have that. Holy shit, and then it becomes the community of beards where there are not even a lot of beards, and it can be the symbol, and you can explain how it all started, and then people resonate with that. That's how you create a community.
I love that. But my mind, and I know I have a very linear mind now and again. So, but my mind immediately goes like, I love it. And how do you grow it?
How do you what?
Grow. How do you grow
Grow.
a community?
For me personally,
Mhm.
manifestation, I love that word. I'm not changing the word manifestation. How I see manifestation, so growing your community can be a manifestation. For me, manifestation is it's there, end of story. So that's how I see it. The
Right.
Octopus Movement is global. I had that from day one. I had 50 people and I already had the manifestation, the vision that this is a global movement immediately. How do you get there? How do you grow from 50 to almost 10,000 now? It's never fast enough. You always overestimate what you can do in a period of time. Oh, I can do this. I can give myself 9 months, and then you're year later and like, oh no, it's taking much longer. But then it's 4 years, and all of a sudden you have almost 10,000 members, and you're evaluated for $1.2 billion. What the hell? All of a sudden you're there, and I think it has to do with the manifestation. And for me, the manifestation of it's there. So the guys with the beards, it's there anyway. Manifestation doesn't work when you just sit on the couch and you wait until all the guys with the beards show up at your front door. It doesn't work that way. You need to get active. And I can tell you that building the Octopus Movement was a work day from me. Most of my days started at 6:30 in the morning, and the work day ended most times at 11 in the evening. That was a normal day for me. I was having 7, 8, 9 Zoom calls a day, every flipping day. The whole family was building the Octopus Movement. My kids were building the Octopus Movement. It was about the stickers. It was about going to school and talk about nonlinear thinking. Everything was there because I had that manifestation of there are all these octopi all over the world, but they have no clue that they're an octopus.
Mm.
And if they would just know what nonlinear thinking is, and they would understand how the world is very linear, and that causes the tension that they can feel, and that they're thinking, I'm too weird, or I don't belong here, or what's wrong with me, or nobody gets me. Most people said, if only people would understand me a little bit better, I could do so much more. That really motivated me to start this. So how do you grow this? You get into action. You need to talk to people. And I think the first year, I don't remember exactly, but I think I had 24,000 hours on Zoom for the first calendar year. I was talking to everyone and just connecting the dots and not targeting nonlinear thinkers, because what is a nonlinear thinker? That's a human being. So I could target everyone. It was creating the connection with everyone. And every time I had a connection, a new connection, and that was a nonlinear mind and an octopus, and it was happy, like, shit, you're right. This is so cool. I was thinking, so if I wouldn't have this conversation, I would have missed this new connection. Most of these connections became personal friends, even. It's very close. I don't do work-life balance. This is my life. This has nothing to do with work. All the people in the Octopus Movement, all the founding members are very close to me. And and there are a lot of personal connections based on that. So that's how you grow a community. You don't sit still. You don't do a marketing campaign. You don't pay Facebook a fee to get your advertisement there, and waiting for people to sign in, because those are not the sign-ins that you want for your community. That's not how it works.
But did you, because you spoke about growing and that it's never fast enough and that you sometimes wish, things were further along. So did you have a certain goal in your mind, a
No,
certain aim?
no. I remember the first few months, first half a year, like I could feel I'm onto something.
Mhm.
Everybody, hello entrepreneurs. Sometimes something is happening and you're like, this is working. You can feel the traction. I had that with the Octopus Movement, and thanks to the symbol of the octopus, people were signing up with the Octopus Movement, saying to me, I have no clue what I'm signing up to. I just need to be here. For me, as a nonlinear thinker was really like, yeah, this is happening. I
Yeah,
want this. I
yeah.
want this, that it resonates well, and that they become curious, which is the essence of nonlinear thinking. Hell yeah. And I was thinking in the beginning, oh, if everyone now invites 3 new people, we can grow to 10,000 people in 1 year. That would be cool. I had that thought, Yvonne. absolutely. And I made a Facebook post about it, like, okay, guys, if you all invite 3 people, we have 10,000 people, and then we're taken more seriously. Took me 4 years. It doesn't work that way. But I had that thought in the beginning, and I let go. I like, okay, we're not doing this. Apparently, some people are inviting 20 people to the Octopus
Yeah, I was
Movement,
going to
and
say.
and some people are not doing anything, and some people are just lurking and looking like, oh, is this weirdo doing this kind of stuff? Is this for real? Is he misusing us? I've heard that before, Yvonne, that people are,
Using.
yeah, of course, we're all conditioned in our thinking, and thinking like, okay, what is he doing? How much money is he making? Is he getting benefit out of us being there? Is he making personal gain financially because I'm in the Octopus Movement? How does that work? That's that's interesting. You're nonprofit. I don't get any salary from the Octopus Movement. I'm poor, as you can imagine. uh, I don't have anything. I don't mind. I've the Octopus Movement, the nonprofit, is for me everything. And I'm doing this because I strongly believe that the nonlinear thinker deserves more. And I'm a nonlinear thinker. My kids are a nonlinear thinker, and a lot of my friends are nonlinear thinkers. And recently, this massive, big project came to the Octopus Movement that I cannot say anything about, but it is why I started the Octopus Movement. And this organization came to me like, we need your nonlinear thinker. We need your people. We need the people, because this project is so important in the world. We need to go beyond everything. And like, that's what it is for me. So this organization will hire nonlinear thinkers that are connected with the Octopus Movement, or not even yet, or what, it doesn't matter. It is the awareness that the industry is getting slowly now, also thanks to AI, that these weirdos that are difficult to manage are actually very interesting to talk to, and you need different thinking to survive the next decade. And that's what it is for me. And if someone is thinking, yeah, but he's benefiting because of my brilliance, I'm not going there, fine. you know Fine.
But aren't you touching on something very important here? You started the Octopus Movement because of curiosity yourself, right? You were like, started with YouTube movies, interviewing people to see is this real, and then you started to, like a threat. Oh, there's more, there's more, there's more, and now this is this global, massive human mycelium. Did I say
Well done, Yvonne. Audience, this is a very spectacular day. This is the first time Yvonne is saying it correctly.
I'm so proud.
Congratulations. You've done it. All the marketeers in the world are like, Perry, you shouldn't call this human mycelium. Your host is not even able to pronounce that horrible word. Yeah.
That's my words.
Fuck the rules. Yeah.
But so for you, it was like really, and like it, something inside of you that drove this, and everybody who's watching or listening can feel this passion, right? And if they can't, then it's up to them. But you're touching on something I think important, and that makes me wonder. You're saying, I run a nonprofit, I don't get a salary, and even people who are thinking about, are people misused or whatever, it's not true because I don't have a financial gain from this. But what if you want to start a community, but it is because you want to build it around your company, for example, right? Because that's what a lot of people want. They have an amazing business and they want a community, because whether they want to make more impact or they want to have more people understand it. So there is maybe a difference. And then there's more the, oh my God, I need so many people before. I don't know, but
Yeah. So you're a producer of beard oil,
yes,
for instance. And you want to create a community with guys with beards,
yes,
and because your beard oil is the best,
right.
and you want to sell a lot more beard oil. I strongly believe that it's the art of living, that you can sell a lot of beard oil, and that it's a commercial for-profit organization with the aim to create market value, shareholders profit, everything, which is fine. You have to question yourself, who am I creating this beard oil for? And I strongly believe that companies that are doing a very good job is because they want to just have the perfect beard oil. It's not about specifically selling beard oil. It's about, for who are you doing this? And it always started with for themselves, because they've created a beard oil that nobody has before, and this is really nice, and it's staying in there forever. I'm not using any beard oil, but
Is
whatever.
it a thing even?
Yes, yeah, you can buy oil for your beard, so your beard is nice and soft and smells good, instead of macaroni and ham and cheese from the last night. And it's it's a thing. But what I believe, and I have that with the Octopus Movement, but it doesn't matter if it's a for-profit or a non-profit, and if you're producing products or not. It is, you're excited about something you're creating, and you've created that in the beginning for yourself, because you've missed that beard oil in the market. Nobody was making that. And you were not doing it for your clients. You were doing it for yourself, because you needed that. Like, my son is an outdoor survivor, and he knows everything about trees and whatnot. And there's something that is called fat wood. And fat wood is with pine trees. When they die, there's this oil coming out of the tree, and you call that fat wood. And Splinter, that's his name. Splinter and I just love the scent of fat wood. We're just like, it's so strong, it's so nice. We go nuts about it. We're a bit weird, forgive us. And so we went into to look if there are any scented candles with fat wood. No, couldn't find any. Beard oil, he has a beard as well. Maybe beard oil with
I was
fat wood.
going to say, whoever's watching this is going to start a community for beard oil.
No fat wood, beard oil. So I can imagine that at some point we want to create the fat wood scented candle, because we're not the only ones that love fat wood.
I was going to say, I
And
love the smell too. I just don't like the stickiness.
but it's so, and you can't find it. I can't find any products with fat wood. So if you're listening and you think, Perry, you're so wrong, we buy this candle every month with fat wood scent, send it to me, please. Where can I get it? What I'm trying to say is, it doesn't matter if you're for profit or a non-profit. It's the passion that you're doing something for you, because you believe in that. You're doing the coaching not to coach as many people as possible, but you do it for you, Yvonne, because it makes you happy. You see things that others don't see, and you're happy to share that with others, because you're doing it for yourself. And I think in creating a community, that's the same thing. You're doing something because you believe that that's serving you, as you started it, well, because you believe in something that is important. And then the community agrees. And then all these guys with beards come in and like, yeah, this beard oil fat wood is amazing. And by the way, we all have the same belief that we really need to la 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 la.
I love that. That's a lot to think about. And what I also really like is that well, we spoke about that, right? You bring the human back into it. Even when it's for profit, even when you want to sell your, what did we now call it? What was it? Fat wood?
Fat wood. It's a
Fat wood.
beautiful word, even. You have to say fat wood. You cannot say just fat wood. It's fat wood. It's like slapping your face. Wood. Sorry.
You want to sell that into beard oil. But yeah, I really like that. And I can imagine that it also asks something of the people that want to build a community, because like you said, most people are looking, oh, it's a community, give me the 10 steps and I will get there. And this is being more real, more honest with yourself. Why do you want it? What makes you tick that you are going to look for in others, basically?
When I just started the Octopus Movement, I got the question, and I should go back to them and see if they created a community. I don't think so. This was a headhunting firm,
Mm-hmm.
and and they came to me and they saw how I was doing the Octopus Movement in the beginning, first year. Like, you're doing a good job. How do you do that? And how do we do that? Because we want to create a community. Back then I hadn't these insights that I have right now, and like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe I can help you, maybe not. And we had a little bit of a conversation, and the starting point for that headhunting firm was really like, yeah, everybody's talking about communities. We have all these profiles, so we already have a tremendous base of connections that is interesting. So we have to create a community, because apparently, if that works well, you can create more value and you can grow based on your community. Well, you understand now that if they would have asked me now, we would really sit down and like, that's cool. You already have all these profiles. You already have 50,000 profiles. That's
Mm-hmm.
cool. But that's not a community, right? And but they all have one thing in common. They're talking with you because, or they're looking for a new job, or you find them interesting for the people that are having jobs and looking for people. So there is something in common. How cool is that? But if the starting point is we have to create a community because that's what we do these days, and let's use AI to create the community, then you're not going to win. That's what I'm saying, because it's system relevant. It's that database with all these profiles that creates the community. And then after a few years, hiring different community members, putting a lot of money in it. And in the end, it doesn't work. There is not movement, there's nothing happening. Boy, how is that? Why is that happening? I know why. I know exactly why. Because it's system relevant. It's not human centric. And that's the big difference.
And do you think then that is also the reason why many communities don't either work or never come to grow or basically dissolve rather quickly? Because it's not set up from that space of what do we have in common. It's more set up of um, I have a group. I want something out of
Yeah,
it. Let's
I want something. So it's when it starts by convincing people, come to my group, come to my community, posting every day on LinkedIn because they've seen somewhere that the bloody algorithm works that way, that if you doesn't post 7 posts a day about your community, nothing will happen. You know, it's but if that's the starting point, it's so many things, maybe everything is like nature, and the rules and the laws of nature. We are nature. It's not that this is nature and we're humans. We are nature. It's not that the city is the city and you have to drive out of the city to go to nature. The city is the nature too. Everything is nature. So
Mm,
there are rules in nature how things operate and how it works. And if your community is based on concrete and rules and is only there to gain profit, at some point the rules of nature will come in and it will stop. There is no more movement. There's ego, there's problems, there is people going after the money. It nature will step in and will solve the problems by itself. We
yeah.
never have. We have sometimes tiny little problem. In the 4 years, I think maybe 3 or 4 times I really had to ask someone, maybe this is not the place to be. 3 or 4 people only.
Oh, but you have to. That didn't even occur to me that you sometimes have to ask people to leave.
Oh my God, Yvonne, you have
Really?
so creating a community means you're bringing all these people together, and it's chaos, and I love chaos, and things are happening, and sometimes people can come in with the wrong intentions. 9 out of 10 times it organizes by itself. I have had individuals that came in with a lot of tralala,
Mm,
and they're not getting back what they're expecting, and because they want to sell something, or they're there for their ego, maybe there's some narcissism playing along, and then they get upset, and then they always use the same language. Well, if this is a nonlinear group, I find it very linear, and they leave because they didn't get what they wanted to get out of it. But it happens organically. We don't have to do anything. The only thing when I get really upset is when people get very personal and when they're we had someone in a Zoom one day, and I don't know what was going on with this human being. I never talked to this human being. I invited this human being for a conversation. It didn't
Mhm,
happen. But
mhm.
this individual was targeting people from the Octopus Movement that he saw in a meeting in a very personal and aggressive way, because something was wrong with that person. And then I really sent a message to that person like, we would like to talk to you, and that didn't happen. So then, yeah, we reported that individual to LinkedIn and whatnot, and warned a few people. Things happen, but I find it, all the incidents fits on one hand in a period of time of 4.5 years with almost 10,000 people. It's nothing.
Yeah. No, I just have to laugh that you go now already to 10,000 instead of 9. You made the upgrade yourself.
I love to upgrade myself. No, but it's what
No,
are numbers? But I do believe sometimes I'm like, what are numbers? Who cares? And what are the people that are really active in the movement, and what are the people that are very comfortable in the movement? There are lots of differences there. And you're a founding member. We have an inner family of 145 people now, something like that. And within that inner family, there are family members that are very active, and there are family members that support us and look from a distance, and then all of a sudden come in and share something and leave. So what does this number say? It doesn't say that much, but I also understand that you need to celebrate your linear achievements to create the attention to some creativity and nonlinear thinking. Because if you surprise people with results, then yeah, this is the conditioning. And like, okay, we want to know more. It started with an idea. It's not an idea anymore. It's reality. It's what we're doing. And yeah, numbers help with that.
well, I think because there are still the majority of society is still based on linear thinking. So
Hmm.
if you have some linear proof that resonates a lot with linear thinkers, then that opens up a conversation for nonlinear thinkers. But
Exactly.
sometimes you need to have a language that is understood by many to open the door for some. And I think that's why numbers are important in this instance.
Yeah, and I remember, and I was very proud to when NASA called us and wanted to talk with us about partnership and working together and creating stuff and whatnot. And of course they also like, who is this? And they wanted to see some results. They wanted to see some numbers um, before we start working with them. uh, uh, What do we have? And this is how it works in the world. This is an idea is an idea, but you have to come into action. You have to prove that your idea is working, and sometimes you have to show your results in order to open doors and where people can take the decision. Yes, I want to work with you, but because apparently this is working, so we're ready to explore. Yeah.
So I just want to really take one moment to put you in the spotlight because I know you love that. So you
Look at her laughing. You're like,
love
okay.
it. So you built this up from in 4 years, and it is a very close community. It's a very great place to be. It's a safe space. And again, if you haven't visited, I highly invite you to do so. But this is something that you're really good at, right? So right now you are basically helping others that want to build a community as well.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah. I I never thought about doing that, but because I talk to a lot of people, and people can pick my brain. It's on the website of pickmybrain.world, and they just can book me for 20 minutes for a free Zoom session. And I noticed that more and more people were constantly calling me like, I have a question. I'm building a community. I've had so many sentences the last months. I'm building a community and I need to ask you this, or what do you think? Right? And that made me think that I want to do something more better, actually, better than just in a free 20 minutes call, like sharing my thoughts. Good luck. Maybe I can introduce you to someone and go for it. And then the Zoom session would end. I would go and walk my dog, and I would be starting to think in a nonlinear way. And I would be, ah, that's cool. They're doing this and this. What about if they do that? And I started to think with them because I love the puzzle. I can see that there's some kind of movement, see excitement, and I understand this is working for the world or for that group of people. And I thought, no, I need to bring this in a professional way, in a system, but started with the human. Um, let me help some people to create a beautiful community, and it's for me because I love doing that. I'm I'm having fun with that. I love this puzzle, and I also strongly believe that it's interesting to connect communities together. A lot of people like to be on their own island and like, this is mine, I've created this. But what happens if you start connecting all these communities together and find a way to dance together and create something beautiful? So I was thinking, I need to start professionally help people to create something beautiful. And to be honest, I think I'm pretty fucking awesome good in creating communities. So I should not just keep that to myself. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing now.
All right. So if someone is struggling to build a community, or they want to build a community, or they are very inspired by you building a community, right now they can best reach out to pickmybrain.world, get on a call with you, and then you can discuss and you take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I love that. And yeah, I think the best proof is the Octopus Movement that you built. Of course, with everybody there, but it started with an idea and some curiosity. And I think it's very inspiring. I really like the Octopus Movement. So,
And I often say, Yvonne, I didn't do anything. The most beautiful thing of the Octopus Movement is the human mycelium, the community, and I'm not doing anything. That it's not that I'm creating all these community things. It's creating itself, and that's why it works. So it's also proud to say I've created something very cool, but I didn't do anything. Of course, I connected the dots. Of course, I made so many Zoom calls, but I didn't do that. It's bringing everything together, and that's the power of a community. That's why everyone, that's why communities are so important. That's why you also want to connect a community to your brand or to your organization or your nonprofit or your NGO or your educational solution or whatever. If it works, it's super powerful.
yeah, and I think that's a great closing line. So thank you so much.
And if someone wants to create a community with guys with beards, I'm ready for it.
Honestly, I think we came up with a great concept here. I'm so curious.
Yeah. Thank you, Yvonne.
No,
You would be an honorable member for the community of beards. That it illustrates immediately how much fun it is, right?
yeah, for sure. I need to check out beard oil. I've never heard of that.
Beard
So
oil. Yeah.
I find it fascinating. And what was it again?
Fat wood.
Fat wood. Right. Okay. Perry, thank you so much.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, everyone.
If you watch this and you are like, okay, tell me more, I want a community, please reach out to Perry, because he's definitely the one that can connect you, whether it's about beards or anything else.
Oil or fat wood. Sounds like a commercial now, Yvonne. But okay. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay, and if you've been watching and listening, I look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place. Bye.
Bye.